Only but yeah, to follow up with that, let's do a thing. I'll
Absolutely.
I'll come visit your thing and we'll talk bicycles on the road.
Absolutely.
Right. Let me double check sound before we go anywhere else. That is not the sound I want to double check. And I'm not looking for Joe Biden live. Sorry, not right now.
What size t-shirts you wear?
Right now I wear somewhere in between a large and an extra large.
What do you want? Extra large?
Let's go with an extra large. Yeah.
Well, I'm printing one of my new t-shirts today. Uh,
Okay.
I print all my t. Hey, when we come back in January, I'm going to have one of your t-shirts on.
I like it.
Hey, bro, I can do whatever I want to do because
Yes, you can. There you go.
you
You wear mine,
you
I'll wear yours.
you seen my stuff. That's my t-shirt printing machine right there behind me now. That
Okay.
I set my tablet on the platen where I print the t-shirts so that you get a pretty good view of all the bike friendly stuff behind me.
Nice. Yeah. There we go.
But
We'll trade some shirts. I'll send you. I've got
uh,
probably seven different shirts. I can send you a Go Tennis shirt. A May the Courts be with you. You want tennis for children? You want to rejuvenate? What? We'll talk about that later.
yeah, that's fine. No problem.
We will talk about that later. I will say hello to my wife on Instagram. And it was fun. Thank you for saying hello during our live the other day when you asked the question about it is a
Oh
great
yeah,
question about, how do we teach kids to just not smash a racket as
that's right.
opposed to that's the outlet. So I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to
Well,
transition
yeah.
and we are good everywhere as far as I know. So I will say good morning. And I am Shaun Boyce with GoTennis and the Atlanta Tennis Podcast. We are here with Coach David Matthews, and obviously he has another thing going on because he's pretty recognizable if you see him. He's about 33 feet tall and he wears bright orange all the time, so he's pretty tough to miss. But we were just talking about the bike friendly Atlanta that he's got going on right now. We're going to talk more about that at another time. But today's topic is how to not choose a junior tennis academy. And this is not the same concept as when my book back in 2009 was published, and it was how not to play tennis,
Right.
which is different from one of my friends who thinks he's funny, and he is, who says, "Oh, I figured out how to not play tennis." Is that anything the same? So he just doesn't play tennis, and then he doesn't have to worry about buying or reading my book. Thanks a lot, Ryan Blackwell.
That's right.
But in this case, this is how to not choose a junior tennis academy. Looking for signs, maybe, Dave, that you can go visit. We talk a lot. Go see the academy. Go check it out. Maybe if you think you might like it, spend 6 months going there. Check your drive time. All the things we've talked about in previous videos. Just check the thing out. But what are some signs? Is it looking in and can you see the environment? Can you see how the coach treats the kids? Can you watch the kids maybe come off court? Do they look happy about what they just came from? So do we have any ideas as to how to not choose a junior tennis academy?
Sure. I think part of and this somewhat to a degree has a lot of bearing on not necessarily the expertise or the level of an athlete that a parent might have been. Um, I know when I was coming along, through my learning process between the ages of about, I started playing sports at about 8, 7, 8, 9, something like that. But then I got heavy into the big three: football, baseball, basketball, all year round. Um, but my level of play, even in a team environment, um, it's kind of like you hear a lot of the champions say is that I hated losing more than I liked winning. I lost a fair amount. I mean, when I played Dixie Youth Baseball, the team I was on, we really kind of stunk. But I became quickly known as a just an unbelievable shortstop. My hands were very good. I worked hard at fielding and things like that. So anything hit, I mean, literally within 2 yards on the other side of second base, second baseman could have been asleep and I was going to cover for him. But it was because of my work ethic that made me that way. It wasn't something that I was born with. Hand-eye coordination, you are kind of DNA given a little bit of that sometimes not. You don't know coming out of the womb what you got. It's a matter of the environment you're surrounded by can aid or hurt that, either one. So from that standpoint, the level of input a parent has in their background can help. Sometimes it can hurt. But if I'm sitting there, innocent or not, as a bystander watching my son or daughter in a trial, or even if I'm just sitting there watching an academy, I want to see, depending on the level my kid is going to be jumping in there as, if I'm jumping in there as a beginner, I don't mind a little bit of, I don't want to say chatter, but a little bit of camaraderie, in the back of the line. If there's a line, me, I don't like lines, but that's also because I want your intensity to be succumbed by movement. And because as a tennis player, if you're not used to moving, you're not going to progress too fast.
Go play golf.
Yeah, pick a sport, team or not, pick a sport that doesn't have so much movement. No problem. So, I'm looking, if my son or daughter were going into a tennis academy and I wanted to go around and look at a few of them, number one, I want to see when that coach talks, I may be talking to Shaun, the student. Shaun, you're hitting your forehand over here, do this, and this. I like to know that most of the time, because I'm dealing with kids, their focus is not 100%. I got it. It's not a private lesson, so there is room for that focus to get strayed. You got birds, you got planes, you got nice cars going by, whatever. All that can defray your focus, okay? But for the most part, I like my students, like you guys were back in your day. When I said something, most of you were paying pretty good attention to it, because the repercussions of not paying attention was extra running or extra push-ups or
lots
whatever.
And lots of push-ups.
Yeah, because I wanted your focus to learn. I wanted you there to learn. And if just because Shaun is doing his right and Jeffrey over there is doing his wrong, and I'm helping Jeffrey along, and I'm not going to come over there and take that time. I think my time is better served by just saying, Jeffrey, do this on your forehand. And I know if Shaun is just listening just 30-40%, he's going to solve his own problem somewhere down the road when that same thing pops up. It's a matter of dominoing your learning experience from 7, 8, 9 kids, or in my case, we usually have 6 or 7 on a court. Then you domino your learning experience, and your learning curve is shorter. And to me, that's a better value for your dollar, but a lot of people don't see it that way. They see it as, how much individual time am I going to get in this group setting? Wrong, done. You're not getting a private lesson with 8 kids on a court, 6 kids on a court. Don't work that way. So I want to, I would like to see, if number one, when the coach talks, are the kids listening most of the time? When I say most, probably a good 75% of the time, there's a little bit of chatter. You're going to happen, this isn't this. But if the coach is really stepping on some parts of most of them's game that, not criticizing, but helping them get through this period, then they pretty much all should be cued in.
So, and you're going to do a good job. We have a negative episode title of how not to do something. And you're like me, where we always want to view it in a positive way. So I'm going to take what you just said and put it in the negative as to what you're looking for to not see is what you don't want to see is a lack of engagement.
That's right. I don't want to look over there. That's right. If I look over there and I've got, let's say, 6 or 8 kids on a court, and I look over there and the coach is talking, and 6 of the kids are spinning their racket on their hand, because you know as well as I do, if you got a kid over there bouncing a ball, he ain't paying attention to nothing. He is engaged with that ball bouncing, and everything else is going to have to get repeated. Boy, you want to boil my cup of tea, brother. You just don't pay attention while I'm talking, and we're going to run. We're going to do some physical exertion to get you on my plane. But so, yes, I don't want to see a bunch of a majority, especially of the kids, not engaged when the coach is trying to help. That's a lack of respect. And when you've got a lack of respect on a court, you got a bigger problem.
And to take that to the next step, I'm going to look at the coach as well, and I'm going to check your engagement. I'm looking at you, coach, tennis coach. I'm going to check your engagement. Are you standing in the corner with your racket, right? You're just standing there looking all coach-like, feeling, oh, yes, my academy is doing very well. Yes, you kids are working very hard. Keep it up, yes. And you're just standing there, where there's on the other side of the lack of engagement.
I agree. The one thing that I'm very careful is you know me as well as anybody, is that I'm not going to tell Shaun Boyce something every time he hits a ball. And if I've got 6 or 8 kids on a ball machine or being fed by somebody, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to overcoach. I will not get in your way of letting you make a mistake or two and then say, Shaun, the reason you made those 2 mistakes is this, and let's try to stay away from that so that your forehand or backhand or whatever is a lot more of a solid, stroke. That's going to win you more matches than hitting 1 winner out of 7. It ain't going to work that way. And
I tried. It doesn't work. I've tried that.
It's true. But, and trial and error is your best learning experience a lot of times. But, I've had people come over sometimes because I do use a ball machine a lot, but there are times when I'm out there and I'm also feeding balls, and I'm not saying a lot because I'm giving you the chance to break down. And sometimes, if Shaun's in a line of 6 or 8 kids and we're moving a lot behind the scenes and you're coming back up, and physically, I know when the breaking point for most of my kids are. That's how in with them that I am. So if I know that we can go 3-4 minutes on this ball machine drill and people go, well, that's just too much. And I go, have you seen a tennis match lately? That's a joke. That might be one game. We've played 3, 4, 5 minutes. Some of the games on the men's tour now are 9 and 10 minutes. So I need to know physically. It's like I tell all my kids now, and I did back then, I know your threshold, and I'm going to push that threshold somehow, some way, every time we try to get out there in a drill of some sort. Might be your worst drill of all, but that's what you need more than anything. And when I push you physically, the physical side of you, I'm going to get to your stroke breaking down, because that's all part of tennis. And so a lot of people will look at me and go, well, you didn't say anything for 2 or 3 minutes. I go, yeah, Shaun's threshold was 4. I wanted to see Shaun get to 4. That's where I make my mark on making him a better player. If you want to get in the way before then, great. I get to do the drill over now and waste more time, just like the kid in the back of the line is bouncing the ball while I'm talking. So, parent, you can be just like the kid that's unfocused. Give the coach a chance to a degree, So I'm not so critical on a coach that's standing back there looking, coach, because, you know me. Half the time I'm looking back there and you don't think I'm looking at all.
There's a time for that, and I get that, and we can see multiple courts, and not everybody gets that. So if I'm even back there with my 7-year-olds every once in a while when they're rallying, and I also catch myself and I go, ooh, anybody sees me like this and takes a picture, they're not going to see the context of how much we've been engaged. So I get that, but if that's if there's an obvious lack of engagement from the coach, is kind of what I was targeting there. But going back to what you said a second ago leads back to one of my initial questions of what do you get from the kids as they come off the court as a parent? And you say, hey, kid, what did you work on today? How was tennis today? Fine. Right? Yeah. We weren't those kids. We came off and like, oh my God, Dave was brutal. The ball machine today was brutal. It was, we were doing this. And we like to share
Sure.
everything that was going on. And that was just maybe our generation. I don't know what it was specifically. Maybe it was just me and the rest of the generation was like everybody else. I don't know. But today there's a difference. So maybe getting that out of your kid to find out, hey, what was interesting today? What
Yeah.
did you work? Did you ever get to the point that you were just exhausted? And I know exhausted is a figure of speech because actually exhausted means you're probably laying on the ground incapable of doing anything. So we
True.
we hyperbolize the words.
Right.
But did you really work out today? You just come off going, yeah, it was tennis.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And back to the initial point is like, what I grew up in and what I look for. I didn't have a lot of camps like we do now. There are camps every block, it seems like, during the summer, especially. But I always thought that if I went to a camp, that I wanted to get a blend of two things. One was a saturation of productive work, like towards serves or towards volleys or toward the whole game, in a 2 or 3 hour block for a camp, that's good. You can do everything in that span, okay? But at the end of that camp, I want to know physically, was I pushed? Because if I'm not pushed, I need to go get a workout somewhere else. That's why my bike is such a big part of my life, is I can go get a workout in, have the psychology on me to figure out where I'm going, what I'm doing, have some time to think while I'm watching the road too. But if I come off the tennis court, that's why I love tennis, is that I can go have fun with Shaun. We can jerk each other around for an hour or two or whatever, and I don't need to go to the gym again. I'm done. Unlike a lot of sports, I mean, even I don't want to say football to a degree, but to a degree, there's so much. What they call that, anaerobic, and there's so much anaerobics in football, unless you're going to play. What do they call that? Where you get back up to the line really quick and do the next play really quick. Unless you're playing that kind, it's kind of like golf. The only reason I liked golf when I played it for the years I played it was that I always walked, so that I carried my bag and had to walk. I got exercise going up and down those hills because I was never in the fairway. But I needed to find a way. If I was going to spend 3 hours playing golf, I needed to find a way. I didn't need to go to the gym too, because there ain't enough time in the day to do both.
So similar to the coach getting caught every few minutes, sitting back watching, is there a time in an academy where it isn't always about getting the best workout?
Sure. And that's where I think a lot of times when I do stop a drill, and the way I coach, when I do stop a drill, it is to try to look at the group as a whole to a degree and say, okay, group, here's what I'm seeing. We're doing an approach, volley, overhead drill. We're not making a split step. So you need to get up here. You're coming in. I'm not worried about you touching the net for your first volley, because that ain't going to happen in a real match anyway. You're going to hit it somewhere around the service line, give or take a yard or two of that, your first volley. So let's split step right when that ball machine starts to spit that ball out. It's a timing thing, but it's just like playing somebody. You see the racket go back and you start to see it forward, you better be split stepping right about there, because otherwise your movement becomes a weakness, because if you're leaning forward, a lob is going to kill you. And so, that's when that, I guess that workout or anaerobic or aerobic side of tennis that can be with a ball machine or somebody feeding a lot, that's where you break it in half and go, okay, now when this talk's over, let's get the heart rate back up again. We'll do some interval training a little bit, and that's not a bad thing, because that's the way tennis is played.
Yeah, and that's a great concept that we add in as coaches to say, okay, every once in a while,
Sure.
we're going to hit this small basket of balls. We're going to work hard, and then we're going to take a break, and we're going to work hard, and we're going to take a break.
Right.
And sometimes when you see they're gassed, you can say, all right, hang on, let's take a break, grab a sip. I want to talk about something. Maybe you just got to make something up to talk about.
That's right.
You see you gas the group out, right? But in this case, it's more about, can I then say, you said, is my limit 4 minutes? Are you going to put me on the ball machine for 4 minutes? And I just got to keep going. Well, you're never actually doing that in a tennis match,
Right.
because there's no such thing as a 4 minute point. A
Correct.
4 minute game, yes. But when you see that in an academy and you look down, you say, okay, well, there's a ball machine on one court, we got a coach on another court, and we got two other courts, and you got kids maybe playing tiebreakers or whatever's going on. Is
Right.
the coach in control? Is that something you can notice? Can you look down,
Sure.
choose an academy to say, okay, well, maybe this coach really isn't in control. He's just taking money and sending kids out to courts and hoping they get better?
That happens. That happens. I can't, I can't be unreal with my answer there, or I can't lie to you. I'm sure it happens. The one thing that here we go again. You know me as well as anybody does. I tell my kids even today, when I open my mouth, I'm like the old commercial with E.F. Hutton. When Dave talks, you better listen. And it's a respect thing that you earn from your kids from the get-go. You'll have a new kid come in and they'll try the academy out, and like we're talking about, if a place wants to give you, not give you, but if they charge you a small amount of money to come try it out for a session, a couple hours or whatever it is, then that's what you're looking for. If I'm a kid walking in a new environment like that, yes, I'm nervous. Yes, I don't know how to act. I don't know what's expected of me or not expected. So a lot of times, from my standpoint is like when I first went to my first party when I was about 13, 14 years old, first thing I was not going to do was be the idiot. I'm going to walk into the environment and start looking to see what's expected or what do I see. I'm going to be in the back of the line for a few minutes just to kind of see what's going on and get the gist of what's happening. Then I might kind of come out of my shell maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes into the session. And it doesn't mean I'm trying to go to the forefront and be the best. I'm just trying to not be the idiot. And then from that, learn about what, you're going to see. If mom and dad's up there watching, they should be picking some stuff up like that too. What does my son look like? Does he look like he's fitting in or not? Is he getting picked on by the other kids in the line and things like that? And it's not a lot of stuff you're going to be able to, every coach is going to see everything. Don't expect that, because if you do, you should just be moving on and coaching them yourself, I guess. But yeah, I think what parents think they see a lot of times, they're seeing it kind of like we were talking about the bike thing before we got on air. What you see is not really what is all there. There's a mountain of experience behind that coach, and the respect that I get from my players. When I don't care if I've got one court, two courts, or four courts in a row with kids and coaches on all courts. When the head guy does make his mark and wants to open his or her voice, those ears should be tuned in for that voice. They should be ready and eager to listen. And if not, then respect is not being earned by one side or the other. And that causes problems in the long run. But it's something that we all, as a human being, are looking to get across. We're looking to respect each other both ways. You're here to learn. I'm here to teach you. I'm going to be watching you more than you think. I know what's in your brain. I've been there. I've been with multiple kids in those phases that each, we've got the passive kid, the aggressive kid, and they're different, but they may be headed to the same course in different paths, but I can get them there. And that's what most parents don't see or don't respect, is that what we have traveled is far deeper than they're ever going to travel with their one kid. Oh, give me a break, but.
Well, and it's interesting to think of what the parent sees, because you and I are capable of managing, controlling, and viewing multiple courts at the same time. Most parents have no idea that's even possible, much less that not only can we do it, we're good at it.
Right.
where I've been yelled at by you from many courts away when I was a teenager. I have
Boop.
redirected many teenagers from 6 courts away.
Right.
Hey, Johnny, knock it off. Right? You, because I can see that.
Right.
Now, that's also a skill set that we have. Not a lot of people need that skill set, so they probably don't even know that it exists.
That's right.
But one coach can only do so much.
True.
So that's a thing we need to notice and find out, okay, are there too many kids in this academy? Are there not enough? Like what are the things that you're looking for as well? So if we boil this down to one kind of overarching concept of what we've been talking about in finding those things that we may not like about an academy, or maybe a red flag, or if there's one major problem kid, you can see some of those things, but maybe that kid's just having a bad day, and that's never happened before if you only visited academy once. So you're not going to get the whole picture there. But in this case,
Absolutely.
overall, you're looking for the coach being in control. If he's not, there's a major problem. The kids
Right.
being respectful. If they're not, that's the coach's problem, and you're probably not going to get a lot of new kids.
That's right.
Is there a reasonable amount of kids per coach? And I'll just put it that way, because if you're
Sure.
choosing what would we say, a boutique academy, which would be a nice way of saying small,
Right.
When I sold my first house, they're like, oh, it's quaint. I'm like, oh, you just called my house small, didn't you? So if you're looking for a quaint academy, but per coach, if you look at those ratios and say, okay, is my kid getting enough? If there's someone for them to hit with, to be able to say, I want to turn this around and then say, okay, how to not choose an academy is you're looking for some of those red flags, but we've already covered a lot of that. Is the drive too far? We've
True.
already covered that. You know what? Don't
Right.
pick that academy if you're going to be frustrated driving your kid back and forth, whether the kid loves it or not. Sorry, what are we going to do? Like, I can't make my life completely miserable. I'll do anything for my child.
Right.
So maybe when he's 13 and decides to join in Dave Matthews Tennis Academy, and he says, hey, Poppy, it's an hour and a half away. I'm like, hey, son, pick somebody else. Like, this
Absolutely.
it's not possible. So, but tangent there. But looking at all the things, and this being our last of our first 6 of our series of how to choose the right junior tennis academy, this is a good one to say to the parents, find those positives and the negatives. Look at all of them and find out. You may not tick all the boxes, but prioritize those boxes and say, hey, you know what? Dave Matthews is worth it. Maybe the drive is also worth it. Or Dave Matthews is worth it. There's a lot of kids just for one coach. Maybe he knows what he's doing, and give him 6 months. I'm using you as an example. I hope you don't mind.
Oh, no, I don't mind. That's fine.
So if you think of those things and say, okay, I really want what's best for my kid, and maybe the drive's a little hard on me. I remember my parents were elated when I turned 16. Like, bye.
Right.
Some parents are scared. I'm sure my parents were worried that, whatever. But
Sure.
my parents, off you go. Good luck. They didn't have to drive me anymore. They thought it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a scenario where we look at everything and we say, okay, here's the positives, here's the negatives, and maybe talk to your kid about it. Maybe ask, what did you not like? And
Well,
can you make them answer? Can you make kids answer questions these days?
I can.
I don't know. I'm sure you can.
See that hill over there? You're going to run if you don't answer.
There's always a negative consequence. There's a positive punishment.
Like oh my God. I think, to sum this up, just like we do as a tennis player, I walk out on the court. I'm not dealing with just what I have good and what you have good, and we're going to match those up. I'm also knowing what I have bad and what you're going to attack. And I've got to take all that into a sum and go, okay, how do I present my best shots right now and cover up my weak shots right now? Because I know that's where you're going. And can I make this work into that big W? And if I can't, then one of these things that I thought was one of my good ones is not so good, then I'm going to put it over here with the bad, and I'm going to cover that one up, and let's take these 2 or 3 good things, and let's go for the win. that's kind of what I think from a parent standpoint. You, like you said, you need to put them on a piece of paper and go, okay, Shaun, here's the good things. You know, you like Dave, the numbers are good. He's got good respect, but the drive is an hour and a half. That's going to cost gas money. Here's the good and the bad. How can we make this, you know, here we go again, back to what we did before we got on the air. Let's don't argue. Let's debate. Let's discuss it, and let's come up with a winning solution. And winning is not always 100%. Winning, you know, if you go to the net the right amount of times in tennis, you only need about 60% to win 6-4. And tomorrow, guess what I'm going to ask you? I'm not going to ask you how many points did you win. I'm not going to ask you, did you, how many times you go to the net. I'm going to ask you, did you win or lose? And at the end of the day, how you did it, to me, is not important. It's, did you get it done? Did you debate good enough to get your point across, to get the decision made in a good direction? If you do that from a parent standpoint, wow, you're above average. You're above average for most of them, because most of them don't even touch the 6 topics we talked about. They get like one and make a decision on that, and then they wind up finding out they made a bad decision.
And it's drive time. It's always drive. This is the closest one. We'll start here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you start with the closest one. Yeah. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
Maybe you're that lucky. But Dave Matthews, end of 2023.
24 is going to be big, bro. Get ready.
I like that point of view. I'll see you next year. Thank you so much.
Sir. Yes, sir. Y'all
have a happy holiday. Merry Christmas.
Have a great holiday. Be safe and enjoy your family. Trust me.